Round 4 of the 2016 FIM Sidecar World Championship takes the outfits to Assen for the Dutch round of the series. Last season, home heroes Stroyer and Kurtz took victory on their way to a shot crown, but they're out of contention for the title this year. 4 teams remaining in the fight for honours in the second half of the campaign. The Pannonia Ring in Hungary provided a third different winner of the 2016 season. Päivärinta and Kainalainen coming from third on the grid to take the checkered flag in the sprint race. The Finns survived the attentions of Reeves and Clues, who actually passed them on lap 2 for the lead before mechanical problems dropped them back down the field. By the time Gregory Clues had made hasty repairs to the machine, the number 77 sat 4th. A real race of attrition saw 6 of the World Championship outfits fail to finish, including points leaders Schlosser and Hofer, who retired after a collision with Reeves and Clues on lap 6. The former world champions continued on the track, pushing through to the lead before retiring with their own mechanical failure a lap and a half from the finish. That gave the win to Päivärinta and Kainalainen, a first victory for a female competitor in an FIM sidecar race. Defending their newly acquired position at the top of the championship table in the gold race, Päivärinta and Kainalainen chased down Delanois and Rousseau for the lead. But this time there was no mistake or misfortune for Reeves and Clues, who seized first place on lap 2 and never looked back. Further down the order, Schlosser and Hofer recovered from their day 1 retirement with a solid 4th position, taken at the expense of Stroyer and Kurtz, who started strongly but dropped back. Holden and Ramsey opened their weekend with a gold race podium, and they enjoyed another strong showing in the gold race, but their spin on lap 10 restored Stroyer and Kurtz to 5th, whilst also causing the premature abandonment of the race. Ben and Tom Birchall remained unbeaten after the 4th and 5th races in the F2 World Trophy, and only a miracle can now deny them the title. Reeves and Clues took their second victory in 4 race finishes after their sprint race retirement. The top 2 in the championship also made the podium, and their gains were restricted. After their 2 victories in Croatia, the Hungarian round was a disaster for Schlosser and Hofer, who dropped to 3rd ahead of Reeves and Clues. A second retirement of the season in the Pannonia Ring meant that Reeves and Clues actually lost 20 points in the championship chase, despite victory in the gold race. With 4 races remaining in the series, the 2014 title winners had a 37-point deficit to recover.
I don't know really, our first half wasn't very good, so we've had a couple of DNFs which has not really helped our situation, so hopefully we'll all we can do now is try and win as many races as we can and see if our main opponents have a bit of bad luck. I mean, I'm not wishing bad luck on them obviously, but yeah, we need for us to move up in the championship, we need a bit of luck, and hopefully we'll be trying our best.
2 positions up on Reeves and Clues, with a 4-point advantage over Schlosser and Hofer. Consistent point scoring has helped Delanois and Rousseau move up to 2nd. The French duo remain one of only 3 outfits to have scored at every race this season. But despite 4 consecutive podium finishes, the number 72 is the only championship contender yet to win a race in 2016. We're in 2nd position, trying to be as consistent as possible, to always finish in the top 3, because it's pretty tight between us, Päivärinta, Schlosser and Reeves. It's important for us to score points at every race and to be consistent, with the goal of at least finishing within the top 3 in the World Championship. With their first win as a duo and a 3rd consecutive podium in Hungary, Päivärinta and Kainalainen stormed to an 18-point championship lead. Unforced errors cost them the title in 2015, and they will need to avoid similar misfortune if they're to take the 2016 crown. In an alarming start to the weekend, championship leaders Päivärinta and Kainalainen finished over 2 seconds back from pole sitters Reeves and Clues in qualifying. Crucially though, they did enough to take a front row grid slot, less than 1/10 of a second ahead of main championship rival Schlosser and Hofer, and 2/10 up on Delanois and Rousseau behind. Reigning champions and 2015 Assen winners Streuer and Kurz enjoyed their season's best qualifying with second on the grid. But 2014 winners Reeves and Clues remained the favourites, with a clear advantage in outright pace, pole position taken by over 1.5 seconds. Five of the top 6 in the championship occupy the top 5 positions on the grid for the 17-lap race, with Galros and Dalhusen sitting out the event. Ben and Tom Birchall are unsurprisingly the top F2 runners, and they lead row 3, ahead of Holden and Ramsey, and 3 local wildcards that complete rows 3 and 4. Grabmuller and Kirchhofer, the second F2 runner in 12th, behind Rocher and Burkhardt on row 5. A total of 9 wildcards make their first appearance in 2016, with 2 non-qualifiers leaving a full 28 outfit, 11 row grid. "20-degree temperatures, a packed crowd and a full grid for the 4th round of the 2016 FIM SIdecar World Championship. The crown slipping away for reigning champions and 2015 winners Streuer and Kurz, their last chance for a resurgence as the second half of the campaign gets underway. Lights out at the Cathedral of Racing. Schlosser and Hofer make the fastest jump from the second row of the grid, cut through and across the front of Reeves and Clues to take the lead. Great start for the Croatian GP winners, but it's Reeves and Clues who recapture the place, back into the first turn much later on the brakes and back in front. A slow start for Streuer and Kurz, the home duo down to 4th and working hard to hold back Delanois and Rousseau on the opening bends. A strong start for wildcard outfit, Smits and Verhagen as well from 9th to 6th, pursued by British duos Ben and Tom Birchall and Holden and Ramsey as the 28 outfits wind their way through the northern loop, all without incident. Reeves and Clues pulling clear, one of their typical first lap bursts to build a lead. They were so much faster than rival outfits in qualifying. This is the type of early pace we expected from the 2014 Assen winners and former world champions. Holden and Ramsey have found their way up to 6th now, Smits and Verhagen fading, and Ben and Tom Birchall through into 7th as they come through the Geert Timmer curve and back onto the home straight to complete lap 1. The closest battles for 2nd and 4th. Pijverins and Kainalainen ducking out of the tail of Schlosser and Hofer as they look for a way to pursue Reeves and Clues in front. The Swiss cover the racing line, Pijverins and Kainalainen thinking of the championship, not willing to take any risks so early in the race. With an 18-point lead in the series, they just can't afford a DNF. Probably wouldn't be too dissatisfied though with any type of podium finish at the remaining races. Separate battle further down the order, as I said, for 4th. Streuer and Kurz seemingly holding back the pace of Delanois and Rousseau. Less than half a second behind, but it's Reeves and Clues who lead, over a second clear and able to pick their own lines, with Schlosser and Hofer losing time defending against Pijverins and Kainalainen. Schlosser and Hofer pulling away slightly in the middle sector of the lap, but it's pretty clear that Pijverins and Kainalainen are being held back, and that's giving a significant advantage to race leaders Reeves and Clues. You can see the margin they've been able to open up over the chasing pack in just 2 laps as they come back towards the packed main grandstand here in Assen and complete lap 2. Still no change in the battle for 4th, Streuer and Kurz holding on, but the race for 2nd place is getting ever closer. Pijverins and Kainalainen making a second attempt at a big lunge into lap 3, alongside much earlier this time, and Schlosser and Hofer with nowhere to go to defend. A good move from Pijverins and Kainalainen. The Finns even setting the fastest lap while behind and coming through, and it's now just a question of whether they can match and better the pace of Reeves and Clues in front. Schlosser and Hofer immediately dropping back, and I wonder just how much harm a lap behind the visibly slower Swiss duo has done to the chances of a second victory of the campaign for Pijverins and Kainalainen. Pijverins and Kainalainen with a 1 second buffer either side of them. Quickly pulling clear of Schlosser and Hoffer, but with ground to make up on Reeves and Clues, who lead. The number 44 has lost a further 0.3 of a second this lap so far, but they did have to pass Schlosser and Hoffer early in the lap, so that may have played its part. Reeves and Clues increasing their advantage. Closing up in the battle for fourth, Delannoy and Rousseau now less than 0.2 of a second from the tail of home heroes Stroyer and Kurtz in the race for fourth position, around half a second gained on lap 3. Too far back to make use of the braking points into turn 1, but it's surely only a matter of time before they find their way through. New fastest lap of the race there, 1:42.5 for Reeves and Clues, who are still trying to break away in front. Päivärinta and Kainalainen keeping up well for now. Schlosser and Hoffer an isolated third ahead of this race for fourth position between Stroyer and Kurtz and Delannoy and Rousseau. The French duo second in the championship coming into this race and desperate for a fifth consecutive podium finish. Päivärinta and Tim Reeves, great rivals in the modern era of the World Championship. Päivärinta, the rider to end Reeves' run of 3 consecutive titles to take his first back in 2008, at the moment in a commanding position for his 5th in 2016. But it's Reeves and Clues who maintain their lead here in Assen. Päivärinta and Kainalainen managing a 1 second gap to the front, the two outfits lapping within a tenth of one another last lap around. Schlosser and Hoffer still third, and a change of position in fourth. Delannoy and Rousseau passing Stroyer and Kurtz on that lap. So that battle finally reaches a conclusion with the French duo pulling clear. Schlosser and Hoffer next up, but the Swiss have been lapping faster, while Delannoy and Rousseau have been tucked up behind the reigning champions. Grabmuller and Kirchhoff are watching the action, dropping out of the race from 15th on lap 2. A second costly DNF of the campaign leaves them with a lot of work to do to overhaul Bachmeier and Weschelberger in their fight for the runner-up position overall. Back at the front, Päivärinta and Kainalainen closing to within a quarter of a second of Reeves and Clues as they approach the first of the back markers, the Finns hoping to take advantage to find a way through for the lead. Baker and Baker Milligan sit at the back of the field. Reeves and Clues duck straight through into the chicane. Päivärinta and Kainalainen were behind the F2 runners through the last sequence of corners. And that will have cost them time as they pursue the race leaders down the home straight at the half-race distance. Reeves and Clues struggling for pace, well over a second off their fastest lap of the race there. Päivärinta and Kainalainen held outside of striking distance after hitting lap traffic at just the wrong moment. And again they got buried behind a back marker into turn 1. All of their hard work to painstakingly close on the race leaders has been undone. Almost a psychological battle for the lead. It's up to Päivärinta and Kainalainen to pick themselves up, dig deep and find something extra to regain lost ground on the race leaders. ...2016 has been a disappointing season for Reeves and Clues so far, purely from a mechanical point of view, really. In the 2 races they've finished without incident, they've taken the 25 points, but a weekend to forget in Rijeka and a first DNF in Hungary have put their championship chances into the hands of Lady Luck. They haven't put a foot wrong all weekend in Assen and have reopened their lead here to Päivärinta and Kainalainen, with time running out for the Finns to rejoin the battle for the lead. The number 22, Bachmeier and Weschelberger, all out of shape around the last sector as they were lapped by the 2 front-running outfits. They sit third in the F2 class, only narrowly ahead of Rossinger and Werner. Schlosser and Hoffer approaching to pass the back markers, and further down the road, Stroyer and Kurtz only now encountering the first of the lapped runners. The Dutchmen hold a 3-second lead over Delannoy and Rousseau with 8 laps remaining. Challenging defence to their title in 2016. This time last year, they were pushing themselves into a title-winning position with victory. This season, they haven't really been able to contest the podium, but at least they're going in the right direction. Good qualifying and getting the better of one of the outfits above them in the championship standings. Reeves and Clue still in front, but far from comfortable in this race. Lap 9 undoubtedly costly for Piper Inter and Kainalainen, but they are straight back onto the lead pace now that the first batch of lapped runners has been safely negotiated. It's going to take a real push from the Finns to stop Reeves and Clue, who've led since lap 1 and are all set for a lights-to-flag victory. The Remps Racing crew keeping their outfits up to date with the gap. A 1:44.5 last lap, comparing with a 1:44.6 for Piper Inter and Kainalainen. And it's up to the number 77 to just maintain their pace and absorb the challenge from behind. You can see that the Finns have a lot of work to do after their early race recovery has been wiped out over the last 2 laps. And Tom Birchall only now coming in to start the lap, so over 50 seconds back from the race leaders in an isolated 6th position. The Honda runners once again comfortably first in class, 15 runners separating them from the nearest F2 outfit. But unlike in some of the other rounds this season, they are way short of the pace of the World Championship teams in Assen. A new personal best last lap around, a 1:47.3. That was 5 seconds off the fastest lap of the race, set by Reeves and Clue on lap 3. Here are the race leaders, no doubt well aware that Piper Inter and Kainalainen are still with them. The Finns making up ground this lap, time running out in this sprint to the flag. Down to the gear timber curve with just over 2 laps remaining. Reeves and Clue set to cut their championship deficit. But Piper Inter and Kainalainen already with a good damage limitation ride. And this would be enough for them to further open their championship lead. Their rivals once again lined up to take points from one another. The gap between the lead outfits just 1.5 seconds, 9 kilometres to decide this race. Reeves and Clue struggling for pace, a 1:45 dead last lap around. Piper Inter and Kainalainen 6/10 faster in the final sector alone, clearly putting the hammer down. A 1:43.8, and with all of the guile and experience to make a late challenge. The Finns finished second to Reeves and Clue in France, again last time out in Hungary. And if they do go on to claim the crown, I'm sure they would love to get the better of their rivals at least once in a straight fight. Less than a second separated these two at the Pannonia Ring. I doubt that much more than that will separate them here. Down towards the Ram's Hook and the close of this lap 16. Reeves and Clue still lead, but with less than a second's advantage. Piper Inter and Kainalainen unlikely to be close enough back into turn 1 for the final time, so the Finns are going to have to work on an overtaking manoeuvre on an alternative portion of the circuit, but they are visibly closing. It's 1-on-1, I can't see them reaching back markers that could have an effect on the results. A 1:44.4 for Reeves and Clue on lap 16, a 1:43.6 for Piper Inter and Kainalainen, 0.8 of a second faster per lap, and just half a second separating them as they cross the start-finish stripe to enter the final lap. Piper Inter and Kainalainen weren't close enough into turn 1, not wasting time or effort moving off the racing line, and with Reeves and Clue over 40 points back in the standings, they won't want to throw away 20 points chasing 5 extra to boost their advantage. Could take a mistake from the front runners for the Finns to pass. Reeves and Clue are rarely under this much pressure when they lead, and it will be up to them now to keep cool heads in the closing stages. Just 4 turns to go. A brilliant attacking ride from Piper Inter and Kainalainen to come from over 3 seconds back and onto the exhaust of Reeves and Clue. Back markers ahead, but they won't be reached into the final chicane. Reeves and Clue go defensive, ride right down the inside into turn 16. Piper Inter and Kainalainen have the racing line but can't get across. Reeves and Clue hold the apex perfectly. A superb defensive ride from Reeves and Clue to win in Assen. Schlosser and Hoffer come out of the final turn to take the last step of the podium. Comfortably clear of Stroyer and Kurtz, who are set to match their best finish of the campaign. It couldn't have got much closer in the run down to the line between the top 2 outfits. Reeves and Clue knew the pace was with their rivals and didn't dare leave the inside open into the chicane. But that meant they really had to stand it up on the apex to stop Päivärinta and Kainalainen from sweeping through. With another lap, the Finns may well have made it, but Reeves and Clues measured their ride perfectly to hold on.
Outside, it's little bit, I'm not.
Less than a tenth of a second separates the top two in Assen, 10 seconds clear of Schlosser and Hofer in an isolated third. Streuer and Kurtz matched their best finish of the season with fourth, relegating Delannoy and Rousseau to their worst result since the opening round of the campaign. Rocher and Burkhardt make further progress in the standings with a fifth consecutive point-scoring finish, and with wildcard outfits taking points from championship regulars, there's plenty of change in the lower order of the overall standings. Ben and Tom Birchall are again the only F2 outfit to finish on the lead lap, and with the retirement of Grabmuller and Kirchhofer, the top three positions in the F2 World Trophy look settled. Guignard and Pou take a podium at the first attempt, with two of the top three in the F2 standings overall missing out on the podium in Assen. Ben and Tom Birchall are now just one second place finish away from the F2 title, with 3 races in which to secure the 20 points needed. One more race finish may well be enough. A second win in succession for Tim Reeves and Gregory Clues, but their mechanical problems in Croatia and Hungary have left them a lot of ground to recover.
Yeah, it's great, really enjoyed it. Assen's one of my favourite tracks. I love coming here. I've got a lot of Dutch friends and the crowd always make us feel very welcome, and yeah, it was great to put on a good show. We had a bit of a tyre problem with about 6 or 8 laps to go, but it was good. It made it close and exciting for everyone, and I'm glad to get the 25 points.
Schlosser and Hofer returned to the podium for the first time since Croatia and moved back into second position overall, at the expense of the subdued Delannoy and Rousseau. Streuer and Kurtz open their lead over Rocher and Burkhardt in the battle for fifth. Reeves and Clues remain fourth overall, but now only 5 points back from the championship podium. Päivärinta and Kainalainen, the only outfit to have made the podium at every round this season, are on the verge of being rewarded for their consistency.